wanted to give you a little preview of what Khanmigo looks like, the AI assistant in Khan Academy, because you won't have access to it unless your school district subscribed to it or you donate to get access to it. So when you do have it, it's this little purple icon on the bottom corner of the screen. And first it asks you to uh, gives you advice about not sharing personal information and that your parents can see your and your teachers can see your chat history. And then it wants to know whether you should keep a record of your questions or not. And those things were all here before. I can't get them back, so I can't show them to you. So it asks, is there anything I can help you with? And here's some things we can do together. So it gives me some suggestions, but I'm just going to go ahead into this course, my first assignment here, which is a course about AI for education. And so it gives me some suggestions of what I should do, because this is an article, so I could ask it to give me a summary. So now it's kind of telling me what this article broad overview is about. And I could ask it to do other things like, why should I care about learning this? This is a great one for students because students are always asking, why should I be learning this? So it gives me some a response for that. And then if I'm not sure what something is, then I can, let's see, how do I move this? No, that just makes it larger. Okay, well, it's kind of in the way right now. But if I don't know what something is, like a large language model, I'll copy that and I'll ask Khanmigo, what is a large language model? And then it gives me a definition. And if it said, did that answer your question? And I can also rate the responses too. And I can say, not really. I think I need an example. So it gives me the example of, sure thing, let's imagine you're playing a game of hide and seek with words. You're looking for the word elephant, but it's hiding in a big long story. An LLM is like a super word detective that can find elephant in the story super fast. It understands the story and can even tell you what it's about. But remember, it's not thinking or feeling, it's just really good at understanding words. Does that help? And then maybe I might want to ask, when would an LLM be helpful for me? So great question. Imagine you're doing homework and there's a tricky question. An LLM like me, Khanmigo, can help explain the question in a simpler way or give you hints to solve it. Or if you're learning new language, an LLM can help you practice sentences and learn new words. But remember, LLMs aren't perfect and can make mistakes, so it's always good to double check and use your own brain power too. And so if I get to a page, let me close that again and let me go look at all of my courses. And here, I'll choose ninth grade here. And let's do pre-algebra. And so I'm going to start here, and I've got some articles and videos to watch and articles to read. That's what these little icons here mean. And then there's some practice. So I'm going to start practicing. And if I get a question, so I'm going to go ahead and start. And it says to complete the table to find all the factor pairs of 88. And there is this review related articles or videos or use a hint if you're not sure what to do, but I can also open up Khanmigo and say, help me solve this. So do you know what number times 2 equals 88? So I'll say 44. Great, now you can find a number that multiplies with 4 to give 88. So I'll say 22. Well done. Now what number times 8 equals 88? And I'll say 11. So it says, great, you found all the factor pairs of 88. To solve problems like this, remember these steps. Start with one in the number itself. Try the next numbers. If they divide evenly, they're a pair. Stop when the pairs repeat. Ready for the next problem? And it wants to give me another problem. But I want to know, how do I fill out this chart? So first find the pairs of numbers that multiply to 88. Start from 1. For example, 1 times what equals 88? So I would say 88. Right. Let's try 2. What number times 2 equals 88? So 44. And then I can ask, do I put that number in the box? Yes, you put that number in the box. So 2 times 44 equals 88. So I can ask it questions about what's in the page here, or I can ask questions about the content. So there's lots of things I can do. I can also, again, ask, why should I care about learning about this? And then it asks me a question. What do you like to do? What are your hobbies and goals? So let's say I like to play Candy Crush. And now it's going to figure out. In games like Candy Crush, you often need to count items or find pairs. Knowing how to find factor pairs can help you spot patterns and win more games. Now, what number times 4 equals 88? So it went back to that same question. It's like, come on, let's get this done. So the Khanmigo is similar to ChatGPT. It runs off of the GPT-4 engine, but it is coached in has a little more structure to help you use the tools that are in Khan Academy. So if you want to see other kinds of demonstrations with that, just let me know, and I'd be happy to record something from the student side so you can see what that looks like. Now let's look at what Khanmigo looks like from the teacher side. So I can just pull up Khanmigo again here, and it's asking me what to do as a teacher. I can use this also as a student too by turning this student mode on and off. So if I do this, it's going to act like I'm a student. So I can go ahead and open up an article here and start reading it. And I'll put this in student mode. And it gives me the same kinds of questions that I would see it as a student. Or I can turn that off and it now is in teacher mode. So I'm here to help you use this article to teach. Here are some things we can do together. Give me a summary, help me prep with a quiz, create a fun activity, help me explain this concept. So actually let's try a different course. Let's try high school biology. And we are going to, let's look at energy and transport and introduction to metabolism. So here's a video that gives a brief introduction to metabolism, and I can have it help me write a lesson plan around this video. So it will take the video and the transcript, and it starts with, absolutely, let's get this party started. So it's got a little personality there that's programmed in. First things first, let's define a clear learning objective that aligns with the video and the educational standards you mentioned. How about this? By the end of this lesson, students will be able to explain the concept of metabolism, including the processes of anabolism and catabolism, and describe the role of energy in living organisms, particularly in relation to ATP. What do you think? Is this a good fit for your lesson? And I can give it some feedback. Can you make this a measurable objective? And let's see what it can do. Absolutely, great point. Let's tweak that a bit to make it more measurable. By the end of the lesson, students will be able to accurately explain the concept of metabolism, blah, 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 in a written paragraph. This way, we can measure their understanding by assessing their written responses. Does this sound good to you? And I can say, how about measuring this in a different way that's not writing? Maybe I don't want my students to have to write. So let's switch gears. And students will be able to create a diagram that illustrates the concept of metabolism. So that's a great objective because it's a process. So a diagram is a great way to show that their understanding of this. And I can say, okay, much better. Okay, so then it will go on to the next part of the lesson plan. So let's move on to the vocabulary that they'll have to learn. Here are a few terms that come to mind. Do these definitions look good to you? Would you like to add or change any? And I might say, oops. What I want to do in this video is talk about. I have some English language learners in this class, so I need the vocabulary to use common terminology that they might be familiar with. Can you rewrite these definitions? So what it did was it took our definitions like metabolism, the chemical processes that occur within a living organism in order to maintain life. To you and I, that might make clear sense, but there's some vocabulary in here that English language learners might not be familiar with, like organism. What does that mean? So instead, it rewrote it to say, this is like the body's engine. So they probably are familiar with engines. It's how our bodies change the food we eat into energy we need to live. So this is a much more common sense definition that will relate to all of your students. So they can start with a definition like this for metabolism, and then they can, from that, then they can start to learn the technical definition. So a large language model is really good about working with language like that. So it's not always so good. Yeah, I'll say yes, thank you. It's not always so great about coming up with the best measures of learning or activities of learning, things like that. So this is sort of what we were doing in our first module about having AI write a lesson plan for you. But there are other things that AI can do for you. So let's go back up to these other suggestions here. Help me explain this video. So I'm going to have my students watch this, but what if it's a little too technical for my students? So it gives a brief overview, and then I can also do, I can also ask it to, can you create some simple comprehension questions that can give my students to make sure they understand the content of the video. So it will generate some um, questions and answers. And so I could give these questions to my students when I assign this video. So I want them to, in their own words, tell me what is metabolism? What's the difference between anabolism and catabolism? What is ATP and why is it important? Where does the energy we use in our bodies originally come from? So those are good comprehension questions because these are accessible. You don't have to have a lot of vocabulary in order to answer those. And it kind of guides their viewing of the video so they know why they're watching it and what they're trying to understand. So Khanmigo has a lot of really great tools. Let's look at all of the AI activities that it has for teachers. So not only does it create content for you, it can also analyze data. So it can refresh your knowledge on topics. It can create lesson plans. We saw that. You could even chat with a literary character. So if you wanted to have a conversation with Shakespeare, you could do that. But then you can also see a class snapshot. So you choose a class and it will go through and look into all of the activity of the students in the last 7 days. And it feeds back all of the progress. You can also ask it for, see here it's giving me some suggested follow-ups. Which students should be celebrated for their work? Who needs a check-in about their skills progress for the week? Give me a list of students who are above 25% on their course mastery goal, or group my class by their recommendations. So if you wanted to split the class up into small groups, you could have it group the students for you based on how they're doing in the Khan Academy work. I can also summarize student chat history. So it will go through what students have chatted and then it will summarize that here. So like I want to view topics that have been searched. So I don't have any that I can search in here, so we're going to skip that. But it does a bunch of other teaching aid tools like refresh my knowledge on content, creating lesson plans, creating a lesson hook. So here we are going to be learning about metabolism in ninth grade. How can I get my students to be curious about it? And then it will give me, ooh, that's a fascinating topic. So it gives me some ideas about how to get them curious, like either a surprising fact or an engaging activity. So if I don't like any of those, I can ask for more ideas. It can also write exit ticket questions. I can also co-create a rubric, which is also pretty cool. I've tried that. Actually, it helped me create the rubric for our first lesson plan. You can also do fun things with it too, like create a fun class summary poem. So we are learning about metabolism. So it's going to, let's see, fun word or theme to inspire our poem. How about how about Miley Cyrus? I don't know. So it's going to write a poem about Miley's metabolic melody. And so it just made up a little poem. And can you name one thing that happens during metabolism as mentioned in this poem? So it comes up with some pretty interesting things. There is also Tutor Me, so you can use it as a tutoring tool, and then you can also have it craft a story, brainstorm an essay, check for problems in my essay, come up with debate topics, chat with a literary character or historical figure. So let's say I want to chat with Queen Victoria. So it's going to simulate Queen Victoria. Good day, I am Victoria, by the grace of God, of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, Queen, Defender of the Faith. How may I assist you in your quest for knowledge today? I can say, what is it like being a female ruler in a male-dominated society? Ah, question of great import indeed. So then we go into a conversation. It asks me questions. I can also play games with it. So there's all kinds of tools that it has for a teacher in addition to what it can do to help students um, uh, learn and engage with the content in Khan Academy. So if there's anything else you want me to demonstrate here as a teacher, let me know because I do have access to Khanmigo.